Chinese Revolution of 1949 changed China forever. Following 38 years of nationalist rule and thousands of years of dynastic rule, the Chinese Revolution was an uprising of the Communist Party of Kuomintang. The revolution was the beginning of the superpower we know today, contributed to both by Russia and the United States. Communist Party of China was founded in July 1921 in Shanghai. At first, Stalin, the communist leader of Russia, opposed the Chinese Communist Party as he wanted to expand Soviet influence. The policies from when the party was founded up until the revolution in 1949 changed significantly in order to gain public support. In 1927, communist forces united with the nationalists to eliminate warlords in the north. As ordered by General Chiang Kai-shek, the new leader of the Nationalist Party, the National Revolutionary Army, which also included the communists, moved north and eliminated all rogue warlords. A split occurred between the two parties, however, and Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, ordered the communists to obey the nationalists. Once the army reached Shanghai, they started slaughtering the communists in what is now known as the Shanghai Massacre of 1927. The slaughter forced the barely surviving party to switch from a workers' union to a peasant guerrilla-based organisation. The Nationalist Party of China, or Kuomintang, was founded by Song Jiaoren in 1912 and led by son Yat-sen. In the early 1920s, the Soviet Bolshevik Party instructed them to form a coalition with the communists. Until 1927, it collaborated with the Chinese Communist Party up until the Shanghai Massacre. It governed all or part of mainland China from 1928 to 1949. Fundamentals of this party included nationalism, democracy, and people's livelihoods, which were ineffectively implemented by his successor, Chiang Kai-shek, who took power in 1925. During World War II, Chiang focused on suppressing the Chinese communists at the expense of not defending the country from the Japanese. In 1946, peace talks broke down between the communists and the nationalists, and an all-out war resumed. This war was known as the War of Liberation. On the 20th of July 1946, Chiang Kai-shek, leader of the nationalists, sent 1,600,000 troops into communist territory. The communists implemented a passive defence strategy in which they would be prepared to lose ground and territory in order to prevent loss of life and large battles. This resulted in the tiring of the nationalist forces. After many communists won battles, the nationalist position was very weak. In fact, by late 1948, they were almost entirely survived by US forces attempting to prevent a rise of communism because of the Truman Doctrine. In 1949, the US withdrew, which was viewed as a mistake and laziness by the US-American population at the time.
Everything is said twice, once in English and then again.
After the Civil War, the US-backed nationalists moved to Taiwan, in what was a clear retreat. However, they still attempted to maintain government.
Once in English and then again
On
in their
October
native
1st,
tongue.
1949,
But it
Mao
doesn't take long
Zedong
to
of
find
the
out
Communist
that you're
Party
working with a
proclaimed
bunch of
China as the People's Republic of China, causing 600,000 nationalist troops and 2 million supporters, as well as their stockpiles of gold, all having to retreat to Taiwan. Here, Chiang Kai-shek proclaimed the capital of Taiwan, Taipei, and asserted that his party was going to be the ruling government of China, as did the Communist Party. The Nationalist Party in Taiwan called China the Republic of China, while the Communist Party in mainland China called China the People's Republic of China, or PRC, and viewed the Republic of China, or ROC, as illegitimate. When talking about the ROC, people are generally referring to Taiwan. From here, this meant that the two governments were fighting for control over China, even though there were no actual battles fought. Up until the 1970s, Taiwan was still recognised as a part of China in the eyes of the United States. In Taiwan from May 1949, martial law allowed the military to imprison or execute any political dissidents. Up until 1987, 140,000 people were killed or jailed for being anti-nationalist or pro-communist in a period known as the White Terror. While previously having abandoned the Nationalist Party, as suggested in a white paper where it was said
Supplies
that
are coming
Taiwan's
in a
fate
bit
could
more
only be
frequently
decided
now that
by
the
internal
situation is
conflict,
beginning to
the
get
US
really
came to
hot.
support Taiwan in
Complicated stuff
1950.
like new
This
radio
was
and
due to the
electronic
full-scale war between North and South Korea and fears that it could spark a war between Taiwan and the mainland.
But the real job
In response,
of
the
aiding
US
the training
deployed a
of an
Navy
army
fleet to
begins
the
at
Taiwan
top.
Straits. Mao had many challenges after taking government. For one, the country needed to be rebuilt after 23 years of civil war. In 1950, China sent troops to North Korea to help the communist movement in Korea. Crucially, the communist government wanted to modernize China and create a new socialist nation. In 1917, the Soviet Union had done the same thing, and so they turned to the Soviets for guidance and support. Between 1952 and 1957, the Soviets provided the Chinese support in terms of advice, equipment, and money. The Soviets introduced the 5-year plan in response to a request from Mao, which was designed to modernize technology and the economy. In 1953, the Chinese allocated each villager with small, equal shares of property in alignment with their communist ideals. By 1956, it became clear Mao didn't agree with a lot of what the Soviet leaders were saying, and thus in 1958 Mao commissioned the Great Leap Forward. This was the idea that, in 15 years, the Chinese could leap ahead of the Soviets and match Great Britain. To achieve this, Mao used the power of humans as opposed to the Soviet style of the power of machinery to build many large-scale projects, such as dams and railways. The Great Leap Forward ended up failing due to mismanagement and corruption, which ultimately led to famine and the deaths of hundreds of thousands between 1958 and 1961. In 1961, without acknowledging any failure, the government began removing these policies. Following the failure of the Great Leap Forward, Mao Zedong blamed it on old failing Chinese customs and traditions and attempted to eliminate these by recruiting the youth of China. The Cultural Revolution of 1966 to 1969 followed the failure of the Great Leap Forward. Mao and the other communist leaders attempted to rebuild the communist economy after the mismanagement of the Great Leap Forward. Mao established the Four Olds and attempted to get rid of them. These were old ideas, old culture, old customs, and old habits. The Four Olds came from pre-revolution times and were holding back modern China, according to Mao. Many people opposed the Cultural Revolution as it was designed to remove capitalist views on money and thus reverse the successful economic recovery. As a part of the Cultural Revolution, the Red Guard were recruited from young people in order to attack the Four Olds. During the 1966 to 1967 period, millions of high school and university students attempted to destroy temples, shrines, and other heritage locations across China. They also targeted people involved with capitalism and intellectuals. By the end of 1967, the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, was instructed to remove the Red Guard. Finally, in 1969, Mao admitted defeat and called upon them to disband and follow law and order, following nearly 3 years of almost anarchy. The reign of Mao Zedong came to a head in 1976 when he passed away, and his wife and 3 powerful radicals were arrested for causing the Cultural Revolution. This marked the end of strict communism and the start of a hybrid capitalist communist society. Taiwan is now a democratic country, however the Nationalist Party is currently in power. In mainland China, the Communist Party still governs, although there are many capitalistic fundamentals. In 1966, following years of the same government rule, Taiwan had its first elections. Taiwan believes it is its own country, flying its own flag and running a currency. However, the PRC still sees Taiwan as a province of the mainland. On the other hand, Taiwan is not a country in any international organisation, such as the UN, and therefore many countries still believe Taiwan is a part of single China. In 1971, the People's Republic of China replaced the Republic of China government in the United Nations, and the PRC was recognised as the Chinese government by America in 1973. According to a poll taken in 2010, 64% of Taiwanese do not want an independent Taiwan, nor unification with China. 19% want independence and 5% want unification with mainland China. On mainland China, the current government is the Communist Party of China, being one of the largest political organisations in the world with over 80 million members. It has adopted principles of capitalism such as the stock market, however it has retained some socialist policies. In Taiwan, the current president is Mao Ying-jeou of the Nationalist Party. The Chinese Revolution of 1949 was a communist uprising that would likely never happen again today. This revolution affected how China is today and explains where their ideas have come from. Many Soviet ideas are embedded within China, however with manpower, not technology, at the centre of their scheme, they will likely not fall anytime soon. Taiwan and China do not really get very along, however within the next decade it is expected that they will have much stronger economic ties.